From the 22 News Plus studio, this is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of InFocus. I am your host, Patrick Berry, and today we are talking about one of my favorite places on Earth, the Emerald Isle, Ireland, and to be more specific, the southwest corner of Ireland, the Dingle Peninsula. I am joined today by Caroline Boland. She is the marketing officer for the Dingle Peninsula Tourism Board. So, Caroline, thank you so very much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Patrick.
So, you're a native of the Dingle Peninsula, correct? No?
I actually have been there almost 30 years.
So you're a native.
I'm a native, yes, yeah, and I absolutely love it still.
No, so where did you move from to the Dingle?
I moved from the southeast of the country to Dunmoreys, which is a little fishing village, and came over to Dingle in the late 90s. And I think it was because of that fishing community, that connection, that I had grown up, getting to know fishermen, I suppose, like locally, but of course from the Dingle Peninsula. So there was that sense of familiarity when I first landed in Dingle.
Similar type communities and so forth.
Absolutely. Very, very close-knit. And also that atmosphere of being, sort of so dependent on the sea as well.
Right. We're very fortunate to have her in our studios today because it's Big E time. So you're spending 2 weeks at the Big E. How's it going so far?
It's going great. We are having receiving a great reception. So many people have come into us, particularly saying that they've just been there or they're planning or they want to come. But more importantly, I think it's our diaspora in the whole region who want to come in and share their stories and tell us about their parents or their grandparents and even third and fourth generationers who maybe have not, sort of connections have slipped away.
That's a very good point that you bring up because our area here of Western Mass has a very close connection to that area of Ireland. Talk to me about that. Why is that? Why are we so tight with Southwest Ireland?
Well, for us, it was the people of the Blasket Islands. So the Blasket Islands are literally just off the most westerly point of Ireland, Dunmore Head on the Dingle Peninsula. And so from the Blasket Islands and communities across the Dingle Peninsula, and this goes back even pre-famine times like the 1830s, they emigrated one by one over to starting off in Hungry Hill and Springfield.
Right.
And from there, then they literally have, I suppose, over generations, gone across Western Massachusetts, New England, Connecticut, the whole region really.
Right.
But I think, what's always amazes me is that when they came over, first of all, they only spoke Irish or Gaelic. And, but they knew the importance of bringing over more and more, that there was nothing left for them back in Ireland or on the Blasket Islands and the Dingle Peninsula. So one by one, they sent over money so that the next person could come over, and they established, a very strong community here.
It's fascinating, that connection, because if memory serves me correct, the last surviving immigrant from the Blasket Islands who was moved here to the Springfield area recently passed away. Am I right with that memory?
That's right. Yes, 2 or 3 months ago, Mairead Carney, whose 102nd birthday was celebrated recently. And also last year when we were here, there was the most wonderful celebration of her life in Springfield. And they named a street after her.
Nice.
Yes. So, that was very poignant because the last Blasket Islanders left the island in 1953. There was only 23 of them left on the island then. And as I say, so many of them established themselves here in the greater Springfield region. And
did people come here because of job opportunities, or was it because of the strife back home that they had to leave for a better opportunity, and it just so happened to be the Springfield area?
Absolutely. So, the island, Blasket Island itself, is literally a mountain in the sea. So there's very little farming. They had fishing, which was there. But you might have 7, 9, 11 children in a family, and there were no jobs. So really, they had no alternative but to emigrate. And so over here, the industry of Springfield, the printing, and
the factory work, the
absolutely.
construction work.
that gave them a lifeline. And as Mairead herself once said, and I'm sure to many more, but Lorcan O'Canada, the Blasket Heritage Centre, the museum dedicated to the Blasket Centre, was here last week. And as he said, Mairead said to him that she literally skipped across the Atlantic because there was very little, left for them at all at home.
That is amazing. So do you by any chance know how many people emigrated? I mean, it's kind of probably a hard number to.
It is a hard number. The
tally.
number of Blasket Islanders, I think, towards at its, I suppose, when the majority are sort of at its highest numbers, was only about 183.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was a
Right.
very, very small community. But they established themselves. So, like one by one, they came over to Springfield, Hungry Hill. But then you had the others across the Dingle Peninsula that came too, where one went and got established, the others would follow. So, say, famine times, just to give you an idea, there was a population of about 34,000 people on the Dingle Peninsula. Today, there's just 12,500. So we never really recovered after the famine.
So pre-famine, which was mid-1800s, 1860, 1870, somewhere in.
45 to 50.
Oh,
They were
even earlier.
yes.
There were that many residents of the Dingle Peninsula, and now it's down to 12,000?
12,500, yes, in the last
Wow.
census. Yeah.
So it really is a remote area of the country that's still remains pristine.
But this is, and that we're fortunate. The peninsula itself, there's only two roads in and out, north and south. That's
Right.
your choice. But it is like an island because we're, 90% we're surrounded by water, the Atlantic Ocean. So it's very pristine. Our environment, thankfully, our landscape, the most, like the fresh air, it's all, Atlantic Ocean. So we are very blessed with a beautiful landscape. And, a lot of it, subsistence farming, fishing, it's in decline now, unfortunately. But this is where, our hospitality industry has flourished because of the natural welcome of everybody.
It's interesting that you say the fishing economy or fishing industry is really not as strong as it once was, because I think of people trying to eat healthier, and seafood is a much healthier option than most. So it's interesting that the fishing industry there isn't what it once was.
Yes, and that's the thing. I suppose it's that global reach.
Right.
So we would, as part of Europe, there's sort of fishing quotas. There's
Good point,
different
yeah.
regulations there. So it's really made it very difficult. So, we would very much support our small, our local fishing families
Right.
because, they are in decline, and it would be dreadful because part of the charm of Dingle Town and Ballydavid and other villages is that, you see the fishing boats coming in and out with the most
Exactly.
beautiful of seafood.
And beautiful colored boats too. They're absolutely
Yeah,
gorgeous.
colours are fabulous.
We need to take our first break. We're here with Caroline Boland from the Dingle Peninsula Tourism Board. We'll be right back after this.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back to the 22 News in Focus studio. I'm your host, Patrick Berry. I'm joined by Caroline Boland from the Dingle Tourism Board over in Ireland. We're talking about all things Emerald Isle. Caroline, thank you so very much for joining me today. I greatly appreciate your time. It is Big E time, so you're spending a lot of time over in West Springfield, manning the Irish booths, and it's like a whole part of a complex over there.
That's right. And actually, Patrick, what we did this year, originally there was sort of like a cottage type effect or feel to it. Now what we did was each booth, which has a different craft or artisan crafter from Dingle, Bryant Stack Jewellery, Dingle Crystal, Original Kerry, which has got Louis Mulcahy Pottery, Kerry Woolen Mills, Mike from Celtic Gifts. There's a wonderful selection of quality artisan crafts there. But each booth is painted in their colours of their business, their shop back home. So we've created a little streetscape character and atmosphere this year.
I love it. I love it. So let's switch a little bit now to your homeland, Ireland. What makes visiting Ireland. I mean, you live there, so, but what's the appeal of foreigners, US residents, British residents, Italian, Australians, wherever they come from? What's the appeal of Ireland?
Well, I think it's the people.
Okay.
And I say that because that's what people say to us, that the welcome they receive, the hospitality they receive. And I think that very much so because so many people emigrated from the west coast of Ireland to places like Western Massachusetts. There's that sense of familiarity, of
Yeah.
connection, of empathy, and a sense of belonging, which is
Well,
very
there's still
important.
that family connection too. I mean, my next door neighbor, I don't even know how many. Well, it can't be that many because there's only a little more than 12,000 people, but all his cousins are in the Dingle Peninsula.
That's right. So my neighbours, their surnames are the Fentons, the Garveys, the Bakers, the Sullivans, like the Bolans, and you come over here and you're meeting the Fentons, the Sullivans, the
Right.
Bakers, the Bolans. So, and that's the beauty of it. And I think that that's why there's already an emotional connection. And then when you bring it in with this extraordinary landscape that we have, which, sort of created over millennia by
Right.
the wild Atlantic Ocean, you have this exceptional coastal beauty, which I think brings a lot of rejuvenation and well-being to people when they come, and then you come to a place like Dingle and the villages of the Dingle Peninsula, and they're all family owned. So
Right.
96% of our local businesses are family owned. So you're meeting the owners and their kids, maybe, or their neighbours, who are working the
Right.
business, and we depend on that.
That is a mind-boggling statistic. 96% of the businesses are family owned.
Absolutely, and that's the magic of the
Right.
Dingle Peninsula because you're coming in. You won't see global brands. You're seeing over the door John Benny Moriarty, or it's the Murphys. I'm afraid trying to capture everybody,
And you don't want to
and I don't want to. Yeah, I
don't want to
won't get
forget anybody.
everybody
Right.
exactly. But I think that's the beauty of it is that and the young people in particular. We have a campus now, Sacred Heart University in Fairfield, Connecticut, have a
Yeah.
campus in Dingle, and they come over for different semesters and courses.
Nice.
Yeah, and I mean, I've sat in their lecture class, in the classrooms, and I've listened to them wrap up at the end of their time there, and they all say it's such a life-changing experience.
Right.
And really, it was education originally. Like when people ask me, how did tourism start in the Dingle Peninsula? I always say it's education because even back in the late 1800s, scholars from across the world came to the Great Blasket Island to live on the island with
To
the
learn
locals
about it.
there to learn the Irish
Yeah.
language. So that is, the immense culture and heritage of the Blaskets, the Dingle Peninsula, that is still the driving force of what makes it so special.
In your lifetime, have you seen any major changes to culture, or are the Irish people extremely good at maintaining their history and their culture? I look at here in the United States, things have changed, but the times I've been to Ireland, it's like stepping back in time, but it's a beautiful experience.
It really is. And, without it becoming like a museum, it's very much a living place. You see the
Yeah.
kids going to school, you see the farmers going to the market, you see the trawlers going out to sea. So we're a living community. And I think that that's what it is. We do need to mind it because we don't want tourism to overwhelm.
Right.
We
I
want it
know
to.
some countries, in some regions of some countries, like Venice, Italy, for example, they're trying
Absolutely.
to limit the amount of tourists, and you don't want to have that in Ireland.
Absolutely. So, and that's why we encourage people to come and stay longer with us, giving them that really, I suppose, immersive experience. Like, I mean, our first recommendation when you come to vacation on the Dingle Peninsula is go out with one of our local guides.
Okay.
Go out because you're going to get reconnected with the community, with the families, the relations that live here, but also the fact that, and this is where, we deeply believe and want to make sure that our communities, whether it's tourism community, fishing community, farming community, our overall community, that we can maintain a lifetime, sustainable community and look after each other for future generations.
Has technology changed the industrial complex of Ireland? Maybe not Southwest Ireland, but it as a whole.
It's a really good point, Patrick, because we see how, for example, there's a great Irish word, called mehel, which means it was sort of came from farming, fishing from small communities. And mehel means is where you all work together to go out, bring in the harvest. Which again, the roots of the of the big E here.
Right.
And what I think, what I'm worried about going forward is how technology is fragmenting communities, because people are now more immersed with their phone rather than their engagement, like us here
Right.
today, where we're talking to each other. And I think that social media really, I'll put it out there. I think for young people, we need to bring back their social skills.
Exactly.
We need to start talking to people again.
And that's a great way to end this portion, because I've got a great question, but we're out of time. We're going to come back after the break, and we'll talk a little bit more about socialization in Ireland. We'll be right back after this.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back to today's edition of In Focus. I am joined by Caroline Boland. She is the marketing officer for the Dingle Peninsula Tourism Board. So, Caroline, thank you so very much for spending some time with me today. I greatly appreciate it. When we left before the last commercial break, we talked about the socialization. And I think that is one of the charming things that people picture in Ireland, where you go into your local pub, pick the town, the community, wherever, and it's family members, it's neighbors, it's strangers, just doing what we're doing, face to face, chit chatting, and that is the charm I find of Ireland. Strangers are friends you haven't met yet. Is the old line.
And it still is true, which I'm so proud to be able to say about the Dingle Peninsula as well. 96% of our businesses are family owned. When you go in, you're spending time with a local business. You're helping our businesses to sustain themselves. But the most important thing, as you just said there, Patrick, is the sense of meeting the owners, their family, their kids, the next generation. And also that it's the stories. We come here and we're always saying, well, we're asked, when's the best time to come? I also say September through to May, because you're going into the calmer times, like any popular, summer.
To visit outside of the peak tourist season, then you see what life is like.
Absolutely. And, as friends would sort of say, that, they come over in February and they love it because we can sit down and have a pint with them and tell the stories and have a bit of, fun. I won't say the other word that we all use back home, but
it's crack.
It's crack.
It's okay to say that.
Okay.
CRAIC.
That's
I think
correct.
It's how you spell it. It's crack, but that's fun.
Absolutely. And also, for example, you take even the village that I live in Ventry or Countraw, the pubs, you can go in and talk about Gaelic football, or you go into Paddy O'Shea's and Padraig Og, as we call, say, he'll tell you the story of his dad's achievements, and that's what it's about.
That's
is
the
that
connection you find.
Absolutely. And you can't buy that.
Right.
That is something that it's either there naturally, and that's where we say, like, our pillars within Dingle Peninsula Tourism is about our people and our place. It's about our hospitality, our Irish language, our culture and our heritage. And that's what we want to preserve.
One of the things that we are so fortunate here living where we do in the greater Springfield, Western Mass, Pioneer Valley, Hartford area is it's easy to get there. Because Aer Lingus flies direct out of Bradley International Airport, direct to Ireland. So it's a short trip, quite frankly.
Well, it is. And even the weekend before last, when I was travelling out myself, the Dingle Marathon was on that weekend.
Okay.
Now, I happened to come through Shannon. I think Shannon is nearly the spiritual entry and exit point for everybody here. But anyway, but going through security, and I was talking to security, and I wasn't in trouble, but but they were telling me that so many marathon runners had come through earlier, and they were all from the Boston area.
Oh, wow.
So that's important. Like for us, it's fantastic. So you can come from, the whole Massachusetts region into Shannon, do the marathon, have a couple of days to sort of acclimatize, do the marathon and be home with, back in at your desk on Monday morning.
It is funny you say that because it is that close. I mean, I know some folks who go for long weekends. They'll take a Friday and a Monday off, do the overnight flight Thursday, fly back Monday, boom,
And that's the thing, and I suppose it goes back to the old spiritual joke that we say from Dunquin, our most westerly point in Ireland, and where the Blasket Heritage Centre is looking out. And we always say, well, on a clear night, you'd see the lights of Boston,
Oh, funny.
So,
funny.
that's the old one.
When people, consider traveling internationally, safety, language barrier, they're probably the two biggest things. Ireland is great because we're having a perfect English conversation, and Ireland is extremely safe.
And that's the big charm. When we came over, myself and Mary came over in 2018, following the Sister City signing of the Sister City Charter. We met so many people. We went over to the Biggie. We spent 3.5 days, in the region. We were blown over, by the welcome, the hospitality. But more importantly, the amount of people that came up and said, we had our best holiday ever. We stayed 5 nights. We rented a cottage, a house, and the kids went down on the beach, and we felt so safe.
Right.
And they said, and for family holidays, for multi-generation, the grandparents, the parents and the kids coming over. It is that sense of safety and security and the warmth, the welcome that you get, because we just love seeing everybody from here coming over to us.
Because of the connection, the immigration connection here to this area, you must see a lot of multi-generational tourists, because it's the grandparents who's, in their 80s or 90s, their parents or grandparents emigrated, so then they're bringing their kids and grandkids to kind of show them the locations.
And I think that's the wonderful thing about it, that, when you come to the Dingle Peninsula, for the grandparents, they are going to meet somebody, as you say, in the pub or in one of the attractions. They are going to meet somebody, and particularly back at the Blasket Heritage Centre,
Right.
who's going to be able to say, oh, I know where your family came from. They came from that village. And it struck me about 3 years ago, there was a group in from Springfield, and I met them back at the Blasket Heritage Centre, and this lovely lady, her grandparents had gotten married in Ballyferriter Church. Now, this was around, World War II time. And she had this picture of them outside the door of the church, and she didn't know where it was. And I just said, I know where that is.
I know exactly where that church
is. And so I asked James Finn, who a lot of people in this area will know our wonderful James Finn, fantastic coach, driver and guide. And I said, James, any chance you'd stop at the church so herself and her husband can have their picture taken in the exact same spot that her grandparents, on the
what a memory that is.
And that's the difference, and that's the emotional connections and the sincerity. And I cannot impress you so much, the authenticity of the relationship that we have, because it's naturally when, everybody from here comes over and says, aha, Jeannie Mac, I met you at the Big E. And they're saying, I saw you. My daughter was working in the Dingle Bay Hotel this summer, and she was there. There was 2 tables of 6, and they were all one big group. And the next thing, Molly heard them sort of say, oh, you're from Massachusetts. I go to Massachusetts. And one of the ladies sort of said, I saw you at the Big E.
Oh, that's so funny.
So,
it's a small world.
It sums it up. Just the connection.
If people who are watching this want to learn more about visiting Ireland, do you have a website? Is there somewhere people can go to learn more about places to visit and everything?
Absolutely. So they can come on to www.dingle-peninsula.ie and have a look at our website. Everything's on it, from how to get there, places to see, places to stay, places to eat, the experience that you have. Our local guides, who I have to say, go out with a local guide on your first morning or day, you'll get it. You'll be connected immediately, plugged in immediately to the Dingle Peninsula. But like that, our office then, contact details are on that. And myself and the ladies back home, we love to help bring, people's vacation plans together.
Fantastic. Caroline, I cannot thank you so much for giving me some time today. It was wonderful seeing you yet again. Safe travels.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Thank you.
This is 22 News in Focus. with Patrick Berry.